morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Firstly, you've had a number of players away on international duty as usual. As far as you know, has everybody come back okay and no new injuries from international?
Yeah, I think everyone's come back okay. We were a little bit concerned over Joe Linton, but he seems to have come back okay. And hopefully, he'll train today.
And I think after the Nottingham Forest match, you said Jacob Ramsey had a couple of training sessions. So what are the prospects of him being fully fit and available for this weekend?
Yeah, JJ had a couple of training sessions and trained well, but we didn't want to push him too early because of his lack of training time. He's trained in the break and looked good. Pleased with where he is currently.
And before the international break, you updated us on Johan Wisser and said it would be probably a couple more weeks for him. Is that still the case? And are you hoping that it will be early next month when he's fit and available again?
Yeah, so we've seen Johan back on the grass, which is the first time on the grass, which is great to see. And I think his knees reacted pretty well to that work so far. So it would now be a case of trying to step him up gradually. In terms of timelines, similar to what I said last time, I get confused with the dates as where we were, but nothing's changed.
This is the first opportunity we've had to speak to you since the appointment of a new sporting director a few days ago. Why is Ross Wilson, do you think, the perfect man for that job?
Well, I've known Ross for a number of years, but like many people in his role, it's sort of a fleeting, hi, how are you? And you don't get to know them on any depth, on any level. So someone that's been, around the game for a long time. He's had various jobs and done really well from the outside. But of course, working with him now, it will be interesting to see how our relationship develops. First impressions of him and his work is very good. Firstly, just a really good person. He's fitted in really well so far, and he's met all the players and all the staff, and seems a really positive person. And I'm sure he can make a huge difference.
How involved were you in the process of bringing him here?
No, I wasn't overly involved. Of course, I wasn't totally away from the process, but I wasn't heavily involved in it. But certainly, I back Ross's appointment, and I hope we can work together really well and bring further success.
And why is it such a key role now in modern football in terms of the structure of a football club, but also helping a manager like you run things?
Well, I think it's such a big organisation now, any football club, that you need strong leadership through the football club. And there's so much to do. You look at, contract lengths and transfers, and there's so much work going on behind the scenes that I can only be across a certain part of it. And my main job is to coach the team and make sure the team's ready to play at the weekends. And then behind that, there's, as I say, a body of work going on to make sure that we recruit the right players, that we have the right systems in place to improve the football club on every level.
And lastly, about Brighton, your opponents away from home this weekend. You must still have pretty strong memories of the match there at the end of last season, and it was a curious second half with 3 penalties awarded, a couple of them overturned, but the one that you scored ended up being so crucial, didn't it, in qualifying for the Champions League?
Yeah, when you look back now, you see that point at the time was maybe a frustrating one for us, but in the end it turned out to be valuable. Actually thought we played really well on the day. It's one of our better performances against Brighton. Team that I think we always have tough games against. I think they're very well managed and coached. I think we've got some really good players. But on that day, we were disappointed not to win. But that's why you should never turn your nose up at any point in the Premier League. That was precious for us.
Thanks, Reza. Keith?
Hi, Eddie.
Hi.
You mentioned Jacob Ramsey there. Do you expect him to travel tomorrow? Will he be in the squad?
Yeah, expect him to be with us,
And how's Lewis Hall? I know you said the last time we spoke he had a second scan. How's his situation?
Yeah, the second scan was good news. So there was different scales of time he could be out. It's the shorter time, so we think we hope he'll be back during this period of games we have before the next international break. We don't know exactly when that will be, but we expect him to, if he doesn't suffer any ill effects from anything that he's doing, to be back at some stage. As I said from the first scan, that might not have been possible. So good news, he's such an important player for us, and hopefully we can keep him fit.
I guess you were pleased over the international break, not just to get the lads back fit and healthy by the sounds of it, but a couple of them on the score sheet as well. That'll do the confidence a world of good.
Yeah, I always think the international games it's interesting. You always get a different players coming back in different trains of thought and different moods with different successes, and I think it's been really positive for some. Anthony Gordon's goal, I thought, and performances were really good. And it's great to see Bruno carry on his good form. I think every cap at international level for any player is valuable and is precious, and congratulations to all the guys that went away and did that.
You've now got 7 games in the next 22 days before the next international break. You know, you don't have a free midweek. How do you manage the situation, particularly at centre forward, where you don't have a huge amount of options at the moment with Johan's injury?
I think we continue to take it on a game-by-game basis. We look at the fitness and form of all the players. I think we have a few options. Willis Sula's done very well when he's come onto the pitch. He's nursing a slight ankle injury at the moment, so he's not, I'd say, 100% training with us in every moment. But I'd say when he steps on the pitch, he will be fit. Of course, Anthony Gordon's played up there. So we do have options. But of course, we would welcome Johan to be fit and available and share that load with Nick. But so far, Nick's carried that burden really well, I think.
And just finally, I know you were speaking about Ross a moment ago, but given everything you went through in the summer and how frantic it was, just how happy are you to have a sporting director to take some of the load away?
Yeah, I've said I've always want that position filled. I think it's such an important position for the long-term planning. You know, I'm working day by day. You're working training sessions. The long-term planning is difficult in that moment for me. So you need someone who can do that away from the stress and emotion of every day, really. And I think Ross will be a great addition, along with David, the CEO, and you know he's come in and made a really big impression as well. So I think I said many months ago, strong leadership is important on all those positions, and now thankfully they're filled.
Thanks, Keith. Andy?
Well, Neddy, just on Lewis Holt, really positive news, obviously, but it's another injury from him. It was a frustrating end to last season too. How is he doing with the frustration of just picking up these knocks, these injuries quite frequently?
Yeah, difficult for him because I think he's very motivated to play. He's got big aims this season. He wants to do really well, as he did last season. I think sometimes it's a natural occurrence. Unfortunately, when you get one injury, sometimes you do pick up other little minor injuries off the back of that until you get your body fully adjusted to the training and the games that we're playing at such a high level, so high intensity as well for him. But I think this is a really minor injury, but one hopefully that can serve as a good thing, really, so he can let his other issues settle down and he can then go from strength to strength. As I said, he's such an important player. We're going to miss him because he brings that technical quality and those attacking qualities from the fullback positions. And, of course, we're missing Tino as well, so they're 2 big players.
You mentioned Anthony Gordon before. What's the last few weeks said about Anthony's character coming into such good form after there were, a few question marks over him?
Yeah, he's had I think actually a really good start to the season. You take away the red card, obviously, and then the 3-game ban, which came at a time when we didn't have midweek games, so it seemed like a long time before he was back. He obviously started the season in the centre forward role. I thought he did well there without necessarily putting the cherry on the cake by scoring. But I think his all-round performances have been good. He's been in a good place mentally, and he's carried that form into the England team. Thought he played really well. Great to see him score, and that'll only boost him further.
You're, of course, a manager who loves to coach. How much are you enjoying the challenge of, pick your word, reinventing, reshaping the Newcastle United attack at the moment, you and the coaches?
Yeah, I think we see that as sometimes a natural evolution anyway. You don't want to be delivering the same work every season. That means you're not evolving, you're not changing. So I think this is forcing us to look at it slightly differently, to see if we can find solutions to, I won't say problems, but just different players. And I think that's exciting. I'm excited by what I'm seeing about the team at the moment in terms of what we can be in the future. And now we've got to try and work towards that.
Just finally, I know you're into your music. Good news last night. For Sam Fender, just wondered your reaction to him winning the Mercury Music Prize last night.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was all across it, but massive congratulations to Sam. I know that's a big award. I have to say he's very, very popular in our dressing room. His music's playing all the time, so as a consequence, I've become very accustomed to his voice and his work, and I think he's outstanding.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You'll be aware you've drawn all 3 of your Premier League games, away games, 0-0. It's a strange thing because obviously there's a lot going right to not concede, but you want that firepower. Just how are you managing that?
Yeah, I'm not obsessing over that. I think that's, as you say, there's a lot of good in that. And when you go away from home and you're solid and you've got a good defensive structure, I think that's a really positive thing. Of course, we're frustrated that we haven't performed better in front of goal away from home. But I back the players and I back the team, and I know we will come good in that respect. What we can't lose is the solid foundation.
And how is Tino Livramento getting on with his recovery?
So far, so good, I think, for Tino. He's out of the brace that he was in. Every time I speak to him, he seems positive about his return. So I don't think there'll be any massive changes to the time frame that he was given, but I think he's moving in the right direction.
When we see Dan Burn kind of moving back to left back, having been centre half, how does, I mean, he is a centre half, I guess, but how does he find playing at left back and going back to playing there?
I think Dan will do anything for the team. I think he's always had that mentality. So whatever the team needs, Dan will do his best to deliver that. I think he's done really well because it's not easy. It's a big change of position, mainly physically. The physical demands at centre half, as I know only too well. When I played at fullback, that was it was a big shift. You know, you have to go through the gears. You have to do a lot more running. But I think he's got the physical capability to do it. But of course, there's a slight adjustment to the training and, as I say, the outputs that you give. But a really good start for him back in that position. And the teams function well with him there.
Thank you. We're at Damien and then Mark Douglas, please.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You mentioned Nick Voldemada earlier. Given that he's come to a new league and a lot to learn about his role in the team, are you surprised at how much he's delivered already in that position?
I'm surprised, no. I think whenever you sign a player for that kind of transfer fee, and not that the transfer fee is related to him, but there's a belief there we think he can be a really good player for us, and there's a belief that we think he can perform and make a difference. I think it's always then about the speed of how that can transfer into the team, and I think he's been excellent at coming into a new league with all the change that comes with that, not just on the pitch but off the pitch, and just being really, really settled in his work. He's really focused on the training. He looks like he really enjoys it. It looks like he loves being here with his teammates, and from that side of things, I think his teammates appreciated him really quickly as well, and it's making sure he feels confident when he enters the pitch and he's able to deliver what he needs to do, and so far so good, and yeah, long may that continue.
And just on your own, at that time scale, you're going to have him back fit in a few weeks, and then you've got the African nations looming. Is that a concern for you?
Yeah, I think just one step at a time. I think for us, I think let's just focus on getting him fit and available first. I think that's all we can do. The medical team have been working really hard with him. I know he's absolutely desperate to get out and play and show his worth. There's no doubting his qualities. But yeah, I think just one step at a time.
Thank you. Mark?
Hi, Eddie. With Ross, David, and obviously you've got technical director there now as well, would you say you were happier with the structure now than maybe 12 months ago? Do you feel happier with things moving forward?
I don't know about happier. I just think happy that we have those positions filled, because we need that. As I said, the long-term planning, the decision-making at board level, and everything that the club decides for the future trickles down. But I just think we've got strong leadership, we've got dynamic leadership, and hopefully we can benefit from that all through the football club.
Have you already had meetings with him this week about things moving forward, contracts, transfers, that kind of thing, or is that come later?
Yeah, no, we've had meetings. Yeah, I mean, the transfers, no, not yet. I think I'll let him sit down and just get used to his new surroundings before bombarding him with that. But I think, no, we will have time, for all those key decisions and meetings that we need to, and strategic planning for the future. But at the moment, I think it's important he just gets to know the staff, the players, and gets an idea of how everything works. And then, of course, he can make changes as he sees fit to take everything forward and make it better.
Thanks, Mark. We've got to Chris, Gary and Louise, please.
Just on that, Eddie, Mark mentioned technical director there. What has Suds done since he's come in? What's his sort of impact in his role at the club?
I think it's difficult for me to sort of tell you too much because I'm not across that. I'm got so much more to worry about than sort of any individual person. So Ross will take a leadership of that role and make sure that everything's functioning. I think you'll understand I'm not across everyone in that area.
You've spoken before, though, about data and sort of the need that's really going forward a huge part of the growth within this club. Is that something that you still believe in, and where can that make the difference going forward? Yeah,
massive. The way we recruit players, I think, is only going to go more based towards data. Modern trends are such. I think you've got to follow them. You've got to be on top of it. But I think the key thing with data, it has to be your data. It has to be spoke to your team, your club. I don't think you can copy anybody else. And I think that's the challenge for us, is to try and create that ourselves. And Suds, and no doubt whoever else is employed to do that, will lead that charge under Ross's leadership.
Thanks, Chris. Gary?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just ahead of Dan's return to Brighton tomorrow, I know you'll be loath to pick out a best sign you've made, but I think you'll be able to agree he's been worth every penny of the 30 million you paid for him, hasn't he?
Dan Burn?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dan, I thought you said 30 then. So that's why I hesitated. I was like, God, that's lumpy. 13, did you say? Yeah. Well, no, he genuinely probably was. You know, if when you look at value for money and what he's given the club, absolutely he has been. But at the time when we signed Dan, that was a key signing. We needed someone that could bring leadership and experience to the back line, winning mentality, etc. But we were in a relegation battle. You know, we needed players that then wanted to come, and of course Dan had links to the area and links to the club and wanted to come home. So it turned out to be an amazing transfer, and as you say, he's been worth every penny, and some more, for what he's given and what he continues to give. And he's a really inspiring character. I love the fact he's been rewarded on the international stage. It's great to see a good person and a good character be rewarded in that way. And yeah, now he's got to keep going, and he's got to keep seeing what else he can achieve here.
And just on Johan, I don't know if you saw Alan Shearer's comments yesterday. He was saying you want him to not go to AFCON, concentrate on Newcastle. I just wondered, do you want him to stay here as well?
Yeah, that's a conversation and a topic that I'm not going to get involved in. I don't think that's fair for Johan. So I haven't seen Alan's comments, but yeah, I think that's one I'll stay away from.
Thanks, Gary. Louise?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Now, this actually might be more of a question for Lee.
Get in there. Happy days. Thanks, Louise.
We're playing Marseille away at the end of November. Now, Ajax, in the last game at the start of October, their fans were banned by from travelling by the authorities in Marseille with 3 days' notice, which is obviously very tight. Are you concerned that there's something like that might be repeated, and are you in negotiations with Marseille about this, or is it not an issue?
I think the only thing we can do, Louise, is go off the information we have, which is our fans are, at this moment in time, are permitted to travel. And there's very clear instructions from the authorities in Marseille about when they do travel. So we'll stick to that, and we'll let you know if there's any change.
Thank you. That's great. Thank
Nice
you.
one.
Thank you.
Please.
We'll go to...
Let's do this.
Luke, Jordan, and then Lee, please. Luke, one for Eddie, please.
No, I'm not. I've turned my mic on now as well. Contracts. It's going to be a big topic. It's a big talking point at the moment. The three that sort of leap out are Tino, Sven, and Sandro Tonali, and then you've got Kieran Trippier and Fabian Schär. Is there any progress on that? Have talks started with any of those players about new deals?
And as far as I know, I think that was one that probably was waiting for Ross, a sporting director, to come in and take the lead on that. I think these conversations will all be led by Ross, and of course I'm sure he's all over that, and looking into the contract length of all the players and then starting conversations accordingly. But if there's any news on any of those players, I'll update you.
You've been here almost 4 years now. This will be your third sporting director that you've worked with. I'm not saying that
Going through them.
You are quite demanding. Does it feel like a new sort of era that I hate the word project, but this kind of growth of Newcastle United has moved into a new era with this new management structure in place?
Yeah, possibly a new era in a sense that Ross, I'm sure, will have his own ideas and way of working that he'll want to stamp across the football club. But I don't know if you can look at it in terms of sporting director eras. I think it's more ownership, really, that will set that era apart. And, you know, I think it's been a hugely successful period under PIF and the ownership that we have. And, yeah, looking forward to working with Ross and trying to move things forward and trying to improve everything that we deliver for the players, really.
Slight curveball question. I don't know if you saw the fake news story about Joe Willock getting lost in a maze, and it went viral and was seen by millions and millions of people. It's completely made up, but it was even discussed on Radio 1. How is Joe about that, and have you discussed it with him?
Yeah, I did discuss it with him, just to check whether it was true or not. Probably like everybody else, but this is sort of right in the early stages of it. Thankfully, it wasn't. But no, Joe's fine. He's good. I think he's got the ability to laugh with it rather than be concerned by it.
Thank you.
Is Frank not in today, Luke?
He's not. He's normally sits at the back.
Fair enough. Jordan?
You mentioned Joelin at the start. What is his issue, or what was his issue?
Sorry, Jordan.
Joelin at the start.
Oh, Joelin. Yeah, well, we were led to believe that there was an issue with his groin, but I think he's come back and said he's fine.
And last time you went to South Coast, you rested both Joelin and Bruno. Are you considering that tomorrow, given the distance they've travelled over the past week?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult, especially you look at the length of journeys that they've had in this international window, especially poor Joe, who had to turn round and start his journey again, unfortunately. So, but we'll make an assessment on how they look physically and how they train today, and then make the decision on the team.
Thank you. Lee Ryder?
Eddie, the international breaks are going to change next season. Is that a good thing for you, that you can have like a 3-week break in September and then it sort of picks up from there?
I think we'll worry about that when it comes around. I think there's a long time between then and now, but I don't know. I quite like the concept of it. I think the breaks stop momentum, and I think if you're in a good place, you don't want the break. If you're not in a good place, probably the break comes at a good time. So I think that's dependent on where you are at that moment. But I'd probably like to keep going and not have the stop-start nature at the start of the season.
And you've got sort of 3 home games coming up after Brighton. I know you go each game as it comes, but this month could really shape the season and put you in a really good place going into a long, hard winter.
Yeah, I think this group of games we have, I mean, it was said earlier how many games we have in a really short period of time. It's going to be potentially a defining period for us because we go from various competitions. We want to be progressive and improving throughout. This is going to be a key stage for us. But they're all key games. You know, every stage of the season's important. But this is certainly going to set us up one way or the other, and we need to be as aggressive as we can and try and take points.
Thanks, Lee. Got a Dominic, Craig, and then to Kieran, please.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just back on Johan Wissa, there's often a lot of speculation and concern surrounding knee injuries in particular. Just what exactly is his injury and how is it being managed to get him back and in the best possible condition?
Yeah, well, I think he's been managed by the physio team and the doctors really well so far. He's responded well to the treatment. I think the specialist initially gave him a diagnosis of 6 to 8 weeks, and he's on track for that. So we were obviously trying to work towards the 6, but it looks like it's going to be more towards the 8, as I said before. But there's been no issues. I know there's been a lot of media noise around his injury, but a lot of that's been false information. So we're just working towards that timescale.
And just what is the actual injury?
It's a PCL injury.
Cheers. And Sandro Tonali played on with a knock for Italy the other night. Is he back and is he okay for Saturday?
Yeah, he comes back today, so we'll see him today for the first time. But yeah, fingers crossed he's fine.
Thank you. Craig?
Eddie, if you rewind a year, a lot of the tone and the nature of the question and conversations we had with you were very different with regards to the structure at the club and where you were in relationships. A year on, do you feel happier now? Do you feel more content with that?
Yeah, years a long time, and it's difficult to go back a year, and I probably don't need to do that. I think let's just focus on the future. I'm really happy with the appointments that have been made. I'm really happy with how everything looks behind the scenes at the football club. I think we've got a strong group of people that are very ambitious and determined to try and take everything forward. And I think all I ever ask for is support and is help to. It's a challenging job, and you just need support and help to try and take the leaps forward that we need. And we need to, because every other club is so progressive. We need to be the same, and I think we've got a good chance of delivering that now.
Let's get a quick question as well, just on your two centre halves who are playing there at the moment. As a former centre half yourself, how much better are they than you? And are you surprised that Sven Botman is uncapped, and Malik Chow as well? We spent a lot of time talking about Nick Voltemada as a German, but it was real surprise that Malik Chow wasn't part of that squad this break.
Yeah, you've given me a tough one there, Craig. Compare them to me. No, you can't. Well, firstly, just look at the height of me and look at the height of them. I mean, it's a tough call for me. But they have all the attributes. I think that's the key thing. They do have the height, the strength, the power, but also the technical ability. They can do everything, if you're talking about Sven and Malik in particular. I think they're really good users of the ball as well. So I think that's hugely important in the game that we want to play. In terms of Malik's international and Sven's international, they're such high-quality players. I think I'm always surprised when they're not involved with their national teams. That there's different reasons behind both, and you have to understand that. But I'm sure long-term that's a big aim for both players, and I'm sure if they continue to play as they are, they're going to get those call-ups.
Thanks, Rick. Kieran?
Maureen, you mentioned Joe Linton had to turn around again. I think Bruno said his journey took 30 hours. What was that like from your perspective when you were learning about that? Were they in the air when they were telling you this, or...?
It wasn't too bad from my perspective. Yeah, I did. Yeah, they weren't texting me mid-air, which disappointed me, actually. I'd rather have known instantly, but I found out a little bit later on. But it's not ideal for those guys. I mean, when they're playing in Brazil, obviously it's a long journey anyway, but when they're flying to South Korea and Japan, they're huge distances, as we only know from our trips there. But then to have to come back for poor Joe, that was tough for him mentally. But he made the journey, and he was delighted to join up with his national team. He got another cap, so it's, on a personal level, great for him. But yeah, it's tough mentally for those lads that have to travel all that way.
Is it a concern as much as players are well looked after? It's a privilege to play for their countries, that you look at the calendar now, the intensity of the games, the expectation on them. You've 7 games in 22 days now. It's a concern for you how players are having to cope with all this now.
Yeah, I just think the rewards for them are so big. The players love playing for their country, so I don't think that they look at that as a negative. They look at that as a prize, really. So yes, there's a consequence. They have to travel a long way, but I think you ask any football fan, if they were given that opportunity, they'd jump at it. And so I don't see it as a negative. I see it as, yes, we have to look after them then the other way. So we have to understand what they've been through and try and make the right decisions. So we don't run into trouble with them physically or mentally. And I think we'll have conversations with all the players and try and make the right calls then to what games we involve them in, and if we can ever give them a rest.
Okay, Sean.
One, Eddie. Last month in the press conference before the Wolves game, you spoke about how you shared an excellent working relationship with Dan Ashworth and Richard Hughes. What was it that made that relationship so good for you?
I think, as I said earlier, I think the key word for me is support. You just want to know that you're together as one. You're a team, and I think any team has to all point in the right direction. It's the same for me and the players. When we go into a game, we have to beat it as one. And you're fighting for points every week, and it's the same behind the scenes. You just want to feel that team energy running through the football club, and I think we've had that here. I don't think we would have been successful without it. So it's a case of trying to keep that harmony and make it even better as we move forward together.
And just on the fullback situation, obviously Dan Burns playing a left back at the minute because Tino and Lewis Hall have got injuries. Harrison Ashby's part of the Premier League squad. Is there any way back in for him? Has he shown anything in training that you think that he could possibly be an option you could use?
Yeah, unfortunately at the moment Harrison's injured, and he's been injured for a period of time with a thigh injury, so we're waiting for him to be fit again.